to get started, the three candidates will have to sit up front, please.
You pick your place and you hear.
I'll just give it back again.
Okay, you sit there. Dean? Okay.
Oh, I got a wonky chair.
Are they?
And first, thanks to everybody for showing up. I'm not going to use the microphone. Thanks for showing up. I did not organize this. Mike McDonald and Mert Riddle organized it. Bring it together. They wanted the people of Fort Benton to have a place to talk to the candidates, see what they have to say. So they're the ones to thank. We just had the place here to hold it. And so Chelsea and Dean and Roger, they were given some questions previously. That's correct. So there are some pre-done questions that I can ask them individually and they can answer it. If there's questions afterwards or during an answer, if you didn't understand something, then we just have you raise your hand and ask that question. I have to speak up. We have a microphone for them to use. The first thing, I won't ask a question on there, but the first thing, if they, each one of them, introduce yourself, say a little bit about why you're running, what you want to do, so that they know who you are. Okay, Chelsea, we'll start with you. I'll turn it on, but. You want this in your hand?
No, I don't remember something.
Okay, hi, I'm Chelsea Kazmaier. I was born and raised in Fort Benton.
And come up to it.
Okay. Good. Okay, I have lived here my whole life. My parents were from here. My grandparents moved here. My husband and I have 3 children from elementary to high school age. And I decided to run for the mayor of Fort Benton because I think it's important for, you know, younger people with families to be involved in what's going on in our community. So.
Oh, my turn. Oh, wow. I'm Dean Basil. I've lived here for about 8 years. Originally, I'm from Indiana. Moved here in the late 70s. In Montana, I grew up in Fairfield. Small town life has always been important to me. It was always a family kind of thing. Being related to half the town of Fairfield was quite the experience. I never got away with that. And yeah, I lived here for 8 years, and y'all don't let me get away with nothing either. So it's really kind of nice. But I was asked to run by quite a few people, but some seeking change for whatever reason. And I like Fort Benton. It's become a home to me. Just it feels like I've been here my whole life. So to bring change if I can for you guys, it's worth it. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roger Axman. I am born and raised here in Fort Benton. Grew up here, graduated, went through schools, graduated here. I've been working in the community for all my life. I joined the city council in June of 1986, and I've been involved with city government since that point in time. I have family that grew up here. We have grandchildren now that are going to the school, in the same schools we went to. So, but Fort Benton is very important to me, has always been that part of my life, and community service has been in our family for quite a number of years. But I'm running, I was a past mayor, and I'm running again because I feel I have that knowledge and the ability to lead the community. Thank you.
And then anyone that's willing to put themselves out there, run for an office, whether it's school board, city council, on up. Kudos to all of them. It takes a lot of time. I thank all of these candidates. Thank you guys for showing up. Chelsea, I will start with you on the first question. I will read it on what they have. And like I say, these are pre-done questions. They're not final. How are federal cut banks going to affect Fort Benton, and what can be done to address that issue?
Okay,
You want me to bring it over?
sure, or just pass it around.
Yes.
We don't know.
Right up there.
You know, okay. Okay, I did a fair amount of research here, so
Right up here.
let me know if I'm too wordy and I'll shorten the next few. So I did some research, and to me, the federal cutbacks that have been recently passed that I think they're inquiring about, they were designed to incentivize work, encourage people to save and make investments. They did this because they thought that that was the best way to get America back on its feet. The state of Montana requirements for Medicaid being one of the cuts that I think people are most worried about. Montana actually has much more stringent requirements for that. So the federal requirements won't affect Montanans at all because Montana's just, it's stricter here. So you're gonna have to ask your state lawmakers questions about that, but federally, that's not going to affect those people here in Fort Benton. There really isn't any way to know how this stuff is going to affect us because it's being rolled out in a gradual process. You can't predict inflation. You can think you can predict inflation, you can't really predict inflation. The Montana legislature actually just cut our property tax rate by 50% for homes under $400,000. So we can thank them for that. Some of the tax cuts being implemented over the next few years were actually designed to put more money from our paychecks back into our pockets. So that's gonna counterbalance any of the perceived cutbacks that people think they may feel from Montana. Some examples are the standard deductions have been permanently increased to $31,000 for joint filers, $23,625 for heads of household and others. There's gonna be a temporary deduction from 2025 to 2028 of $6,000 for qualifying seniors. And with this being, you know, somewhat of a retirement community, I think that that's pretty helpful. The child tax credit also will become permanent, which will increase the max of $2,200 in 2026, among many other tax deductions. The largest effect that we will see from the federal cutbacks as a community in Fort Benton would probably be access to matching grants for projects at the state and national level. Those grants they're not just disappearing, but they could potentially get gradually more difficult to access. But fortunately, the state has put away some money to offset any of these other potential losses that people may be concerned about. On a state level, we are sitting in a very good position. So.
Oh, you want me to answer the same question?
Yes, I do. sir.
All right.
I'll give it to you on the, so again, how federal cutbacks affect the area. And if you guys hold it right here, they get it a lot
I
louder.
like that.
There we go.
Speak up, please.
Speak up more, louder, that better?
Yeah.
I didn't get to do as much research, I suppose.
The glow sticks here are very bad.
The glow sticks?
The glow sticks.
Oh, the acoustic. That makes very much sense. But I did take some notes. I don't. I think federal cutbacks could impact agriculture programs, infrastructure funding, healthcare support, Medicaid reimbursement. I think we can't really afford to wait. I'll advocate for maintaining essential funding for rural healthcare facilities and explore partnerships with regional hospitals to keep quality care accessible here. That's about as far as I was able to go. So that's my opinion anyway.
As to the gist of the question, how does it affect the community here in Fort Benton and the different programs and grants and maybe even some pass-through funding that comes from the federal level? There will be some changes, yes. A lot of it's going to be coming into the future. The other part of it, we also participate with Bear Paw Development. Now, they're a regional economic development organization. Some of their funding in the federal level is being cut back, and that's a pass-through. But it's the idea that their funding also we participate in. But as far as the federal programs, as far as Fort Benton is concerned, in general, some of the programs will be changing to a certain extent. Some of the monies may not be as accessible as they were previously, but in general, we have, I think, what do I want to say here? That the funding sources that we're used to participating in are going to remain about the same for now. Maybe in the future that'll change. But it's on the federal level that we were discussing or the gist of the question. So, and that is part of that new bill that was passed for the budget this time. So that's my answer to that question.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have one.
Speak up loud, please.
I'm Cindy. But my question's to all of you. I would like to know what your education is on infrastructure. And if anyone's had any for budgets, accounting, or anything like that for background. And where do you see our infrastructure going? Do you hear?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wondered what that had to do with the question we just answered.
Well, you guys talked a lot about federal level. I mean, we mentioned on the city level, and we know there's infrastructure stuff that's going to happen.
Okay, on that, I'll jump to the next question, and it might be right where you're at.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start with you, Roger. You've got the mic. What are the fiscal issues facing the city of Fort Benton? What are your plans to address those issues?
Thank you. Right now, our financial situation with the city, we're pretty darn stable. We do have a lot of money in reserve, but that is required. And moving forward, as far as that goes, most of our funding sources are going to be about the same as we've seen them in the past. I know that there's been discussion about reduction of property taxes but our basis for our city government is from property taxes. After all, Montana is a property tax state. And we haven't any other form of tax, let's say, to continue on programs, what have you. But into the future, as far as infrastructure, we're very fortunate to have just implemented and put, I guess, our streets in good shape. Our wastewater facility is in good condition as of today. Our parks and areas are looking pretty darn good. We have some other issues coming up. We're presently in the matter of putting together the sewer and water for the industrial park, which was a long time coming. I know a lot of people were waiting for that. Our next biggest hurdle, probably in the next, I'm gonna say 5 years, 4 to 5 years, is going to be our water treatment facility and what we're going to do to improve the quality of water. We can pump water, we have good water storage, we have good treatment, but it's the idea that the base water is probably the biggest hurdle that we have at this point in time. So infrastructure wise, I think we're holding our own. There's always time for improvement in certain different areas. But I think in the future, that's going to be the number one project, is to look at upgrading the water. And that is the source of the water all the way through the treatment. That facility came online in 1987. And although it's a unique system in the United States, it's outdated itself. So, but financially, I think we're holding our own as far as goes at this point in time.
Pretty much everything I had. Word for word, real darn close. The water thing would be great. I mean, I would love to, you know, be able to drink the water. I'd like to see that happen too. I'm sorry, I don't really have one. I can't follow that. I just, it's honest. That's it.
Okay. Let's see. So I did okay, and if you have any questions about any of the sources that I keep saying when I did my research from, I will be happy to give anyone any of that information, but per the state of Montana local government dashboard is where I got this information. Fort Benton, for its size per capita, the number of people, the type of community that we have, it's very heavily reliant on taxes, service fees, and federal and state grants compared to other communities with a similar demographic. So while obviously taxes are a thing, we're going to keep paying taxes. They are higher, than others that are similar to us. Our service fees are higher. And as we discussed before, the federal and state grants may continue to go down over time. So it's also, I've been attending a few city council meetings leading up to this to try to wrap my head around some of it, and ones that I haven't gone to, I have watched on the YouTube channel. And I don't think I can agree with the fact that Fort Benton has great reserves. From what I've seen, the city just had to take out a loan to match a grant for the industrial park because they don't have the reserves to pay for matching grants. We should be in a better fiscal position, I guess, to be able to do these things. Like I feel like we maybe bit off a bigger chunk than we could chew with some of these projects without really being fully prepared for them. So there are some different resources out there. It's going to take creativity. It's going to take a lot of research. It's going to take a lot of networking to find other ways. And just, I think budget management is perhaps an issue because the reserves are not what they should be. If I were to become the mayor, I think the first thing I would do is do a very thorough budget investigation to see where things are going, where we could be moving things, doing things differently. And I think that maybe taking that information and comparing it with other communities similar to ours, seeing what works for them, what doesn't. There's a Montana League of Cities and Towns. I don't know how involved the city is currently, but there's just so much information out there where we could be, you know, networking with different communities like ours to figure out what's working, what's not working, to help us move forward with all of these infrastructure projects. Because yes, we did some work on the streets. Are they gonna last forever? No. The water is a problem. I'm not even gonna mention the pool. All the things. But it's ongoing. We can't just all of a sudden be like, here's a problem, now we have to fix it. We need to be preparing for these things decades in advance. And I just don't feel like the city is decades in advance prepared for the things that we have on our plate right now, let alone in the future. Yeah, I think that's the gist of it for me. Okay.
Can I start with Dean now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this question is, are there plans to reinstate the city police department?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe there is. It's something that's been lacking for a while. Not saying that the sheriff's department isn't doing a great job. But even at that, it feels limited to the service we would get if we had our own police department back. I think keeping people working there is probably a bigger task than opening one, putting it back in. But, yeah, absolutely.
Roger?
At this point in time, we have contracted services with Shoto County. We were, unfortunately, put kind of in between the rock and the hard spot, as they would say, when we had a situation occur a couple of years ago. Now we've been with the county, I believe this is our second, going on to our third year, or maybe second year. At this point in time, to try and reestablish the police department would be a real budgetary item. We're not going to be able to resurrect putting back together, I think, as we know it, the police activity that we had previously. We have a very good contract with Shoto County, and they're doing the things that they said that they would do as far as that goes. Unfortunately, part of that is not our own city codes. But to put the police department back together, first of all, again, I'm going to come back to it's a budgetary item. In my own feeling, I don't know that we can be competitive for chief of police or officers' salaries as much as the bigger cities, communities, the state, and even the federal government can offer compared to a third-class city in the state of Montana. We're not the only community that has gone to contracting services with their own local sheriff. Don't forget, you're paying for city, but you're also paying for county on your taxes. So I mean, you're doubling your policing as far as that goes. Would I love to have our own city police department? Yes. Do I find it important? Yes. But at this point in time, I think putting it back together is going to be just really, it comes down to dollars and cents. Can we afford to do that? I don't believe that we can. I'm not trying to be negative about it. I'm just saying that on a budgetary basis, I don't think we can do that. With what we have to operate and keep him instituted as far as that goes. I think that our contract right now is working.
I agree with Roger. I don't think that on a budget standpoint, Fort Benton can afford to reopen the city police department. I do think that there needs to be some new as well as ongoing conversations with the county and the sheriff's department. I think that as a team, we can maybe do better for the citizens of Fort Benton. But no, I don't think that Fort Benton itself should be opening another police department. In my opinion, I think that miscommunications can lead to kind of a finger pointing battle towards one another. This side's not doing enough or this side's not doing enough. So I really just think that going forward, communication is going to be the most important thing to make sure that everyone gets what they want. We're not on separate teams. Fort Benton is within Choteau County. We are the same. So there's no reason for there to be this one against the other mentality. We just need to, work on, really just communication and accountability with one another. I think the arrangement works. It just needs to, it's not a one and done situation. It needs to be ongoing. So.
As long as you have life and you're all warmed up, Chelsea. So what issues would you like to see the state legislature address? That's a tough one.
I don't know how many of you know, but I am married to a state legislator. So I will answer this carefully. Or not, it doesn't really matter to me. Currently, the Montana League of Cities and Towns, if you ever want to know this on an annual basis, they do put together a comprehensive report on what that year's session looked like. So you could probably go to, the city hall in the future and get that information if you wanted it, but I'll kind of give you, it's not up yet. So been a while, but it's not up yet. So I'll give you kind of a recap on what I know the legislature did and tell you some things. So, they lowered the residential tax rate. They also lowered the commercial tax rates. They improved some housing, zoning, and infrastructure laws, which would encourage housing construction, water, and sewer projects. So, as well as they passed some laws to make grants more accessible for rural economic development. So these things are very pertinent to Fort Benton. These are the things that we need. I think the state's doing a good job of trying. I mean, they know who they're working for. Montana is a very rural state as a whole. And these legislators are from these small communities. So I think that those are some great bills and tax cuts that they tried to do there. Montana's population grew almost 10% between 2010 and 2020. It's a pretty big jump. We know where a lot of that's coming from. But unfortunately, the housing grew less than 7%. So we're not keeping up. That's caused a pretty big increase in demand for housing, which causes, how the housing market to skyrocket. For the number of people we have in the state of Montana, housing it's very expensive to live here now. So hopefully some of these things can help alleviate some of that. The legislature also made a huge investment in the Montana school system by passing the STARS Act, which will help schools recruit and retain quality teachers, which is a huge win for places like Fort Benton, because this is an increasingly challenging issue for a lot of rural communities in Montana, including Fort Benton. I think they are doing their best to make the decisions for Montanans. I think them and the governor, they're doing their best to, maintain a budget surplus, which actually, if we take that and go back to some of those, first questions that were asked, there was a trust that was set up this session, that's going to house a lot of extra money to counteract any of the federal cutbacks that we may see. So the state is taking care of us on that level. They have this money set aside for us and those people who are going to need that extra help. So and I'm not gonna say too many, that's my good recap. You can ask me all the bad questions when he's not looking.
Well, I'm short compared to like everybody else. Probably should have studied. Um, say. Agriculture protection, infrastructure, like fair funding. It is. Support for small town law enforcement. I know that seems to be far stretched, but I'd still like to push for that. About all I came up with.
As far as the state level goes, I think they've been, pretty respectful for their efforts in the last few years, in the last few sessions at least. What I disagree with at times is, we used to have a very generous amount of revenue sharing that came to the city, as well as gas tax monies and other monies that used to come in lieu of certain taxes. And that's our portion, a great portion of what we were doing was coming from revenue sharing, especially for our city streets and maintenance and what have you, could only be used for that particular dollars, and that came from your gas tax revenues. The state in itself has slowly eroded some of that for other uses, as far as in their state needing the extra funding for state roads and state highways, and especially with the revenue sharing that was part of our annual anticipated income. Some of the other items that they've passed or did not pass, as far as that goes, and one that particularly hits home here is House Bill 313, which was specifically written and had to do with improvements of outdoor aquatic facilities, aka the Fort Benton pool, was not passed. And for whatever reason, that got shelved. Who knows if it'll resurrect itself in the next session that comes up in a couple of years. But there's been several instances of that too, where bills that were presented were not eagerly worked with in favor of other projects. Fort Benton, again, because of our tax base, at times we don't have and get the effectiveness as a larger community does with a greater general tax base, not only residential but commercial. A lot of revenue comes off of commercial property. But again, the state is doing in a conservative effort for the individuals and the property owners, reducing taxes, which is favorable because again, we're a property tax, but don't forget when you pay your property taxes here, it isn't just the city's funding. It's your schools, your cemetery districts, everybody's involved in the same tax base, so. It always says, well, the city raised our taxes, the city didn't raise your taxes. It's, let's go through every organization that's out there, the county included. But, so I think, like I say, I respect what the state is doing, but I think they can deliver more back to communities who, after all, support that effort on the state level. Thank you.
Stay with that.
No.
Do you need a break, Roger?
Yeah, gin and tonic, please.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, like I say, these were pre-done questions. Members of this, let's see, no, here we go. There are working class and retired people in Fort Benton who will be facing food shortages because of federal cutbacks and probable inflation. Will the city be able to address this problem? If so, how?
Considering that we're the city, we don't administer any, if you're speaking specifically with food shortages or programs that initiate, what do I want to call it, like WIC or SNAP or some of these other federal programs, that's coming down through the federal government, and it's a pass-through at times through the state to redirect some of those funds. The city itself doesn't really get involved with as much as the county is. The county is the administrator for most of those particular projects through the Department of Health and Human Services. So I really can't answer how the city is going to actually add or can help, you know, as far as that goes, with what we presently do or offer or the services that we're already providing. Maybe in the housing area, if we were to be able to garner land and we're able to secure some affordable housing, as everybody puts it, affordable housing, that in today's market, I don't know what is affordable. A lot of it is generally not affordable, but it's called affordable housing. But as far as the city goes, I always say, well, the county is in charge of some of those programs. We're not directly involved with that.
Yeah, I kind of knew that too. It would seem like it would make sense, but I mean, hungry people, you know, they go to churches or they go to food banks. That helps out better than people. I don't. She's right, there's not a whole lot left to do, I don't believe.
Okay, I personally don't think we're going to see a lot of food shortages in Fort Benton. Like I said earlier, inflation cannot be predicted. We don't know if we're even going to see the kind of inflation that's going to affect food supply. The OBBBA, the big beautiful bill, is it's actually estimated to increase in the average taxpayer incomes by 2.9% in 2025 and up to 5.4 in 2026. That's more of that in your pocket money I was talking about earlier. So between that and then the SNAP program, it's not going anywhere. The requirements they're reasonable. They're reasonable requirements. They're not taking any of that away from anyone. It's always going to be there for people who need it. As for the rest of the residents of Fort Benton, yeah, I just don't think there's going to be that big of a change for food access. Currently, there is a free food distribution every Saturday that has no requirements on it. Anyone can just go and pick up free food. And right now, on average, they are seeing between 50 and 60 people a week. And sometimes up to around 100 people. So, I mean, that's a great, I mean, anyone can go. You know, it doesn't, no one has to feel any type of way. You need a little help that week, go down on Saturday, pick up some stuff. Also, there's food banks, churches do food banks, the county does food banks, the county has a lot of programs, you know, in that regard, but these small communities like Fort Benton, we are resourceful humans. We will come together and we will take care of each other. So as for the city, no, I mean, Roger's right. It's not really a city responsibility, but as a community, we will take care of each other.
What policies of the state or national government do you see as having a negative impact on Fort Benton?
I didn't write anything down for this one.
Oh,
Or are we out of
just
order?
wait, Chelsea.
What was it again? Now I'm totally thrown off guard. I don't even know what to say. Oh, you have it. Okay. I just need to look at it while I'm thinking about it. Well, honestly, I think it's a matter of opinion. This is a nonpartisan position, so the mayor of Fort Benton is just there. Honestly, some of these questions are not super relevant to the city of Fort Benton, if I'm being honest. This one included. I mean, we've already gone over the fact that, we're going to see a decrease in funding, and some of the other things that may happen. The national government is pretty far away from what happens in Fort Benton. This, like I said, the state is taking care of us. The state is doing a great job at making sure that anything the government tries to take away, the state has funds to cover us. I just think we're so well protected in rural Montana. We just don't see a lot of the things that they're seeing in other parts of the country. And we're gonna see, small changes. I really think what we're gonna see is small changes. It's kind of similar to all of my other answers, I guess. I think we're gonna see minimal changes. State's gonna take care of us. We will come together and it's gonna be okay in Fort Benton. So.
Oh, it's here for us.
Okay.
Roger seems to have it all under control.
Okay, yeah, he does.
He's got
He's
it
got
down
it.
one by one. I had, you know, when I looked at that question, it didn't seem like there was a whole lot that could be done with it. I don't. Sure, you could push for a few things, but I don't. Even what's I am. Don't really, I guess I didn't really quite understand the whole question, I guess. It didn't seem like there was a whole lot that, well, from here anyway, that could be done, so.
Question again, I forgot.
You forgot it already?
I have a totally different question.
The only impacts I see, and I'm gonna reflect on, funding for some of the regional economic development groups. And that is, ours is Vermont Development. We've been with them for more than, well, it's approaching 29 years as a member organization, as the city. But some of their funding, and that again is available through different grants and different programs that they help administer. Some of those programs from a federal level are being decreased. Don't know the percentage yet that that's going to happen with, but that is a given that some of these regional economic development organizations Bear Paw has been very good to the city of Fort Benton. It works with small businesses with loans and grants for startup costs. They also administer and they will help you write your 5-year plan. They'll help and teach you how to manage your business. But one of my greatest concerns is them losing some of their funding in a productive way so that they can pass that on or pass it through or have different avenues that we can approach for some of our funding. So, and I mean, we just don't know enough about the program at this point in time to say specifically how it's going to work for or against, small communities in Montana. And I agree with Chelsea on some of that. Some of these are very similar in nature as far as the questions that have been asked and hovering on certain topics, but that's my answer to that question.
You see how kind everybody is here and thankful and everything. This next question kind of has to do with government further up. And for anybody that does not know Mike McDonald, Mike, please stand up. I think that's written articles in the paper, and you'll say that to somebody, and they'll say, oh, that guy that writes those really long ones. That's Mike. They're well thought out. He and his wife are good members of our community, taught many years, his wife Patrice, taught many years in local. Mike is
Totally
interested
different question.
in, as a lot of
I don't have
you,
this one either.
more than just local
That's just-
politics.
Oh,
He and other people would like
Yeah,
to hear
just tell me.
from
Yeah.
other
But I didn't
representatives,
prepare.
et cetera. We feel that everybody here is polite. We feel so
I
polite.
have a
So
totally,
this
did you get
next
this?
question
I have
is this for me.
a totally different question about
Right.
wanting to reach federal representatives and their concerns.
Okay.
Did
No,
you-
no, I'm not asking. I'm just.
That's why I didn't see you. I got this.
Josh, we're really nice.
Yeah, I feel like that's as far as that one really goes. Yeah, yeah.
You guys want my last one?
Yes.
Okay. So in reference to that comment, the last one here is, members of this group have attempted to contact federal representatives to
There it is.
address concerns about legislative issues and were unable to have their concerns heard. Is there a way for the Fort Benton city government to gain an ear of our representatives in Congress? How might a consortium of rural city governments gain a larger voice so that the people of Soto County, et cetera, can be heard?
Wow.
That's a really kind of tough question, because that's more based on like the Soto County president versus the mayoral president.
That's a good question.
Right, but that's kind of like that's more of like a county flash than.
There's a lot of them that way.
Does anybody want to answer?
Go ahead.
Just from the
Yeah.
outside appearance of that question, yeah.
Fort Benton is an incorporated city since way back when. We're one of 141 cities, small town cities and large cities in the state of Montana. We belong collectively to the Montana League of Cities and Towns. They're an advocate group. Some people call them a lobbyist, but they are our voice in the state legislature. They are a voice in the national, when we have problems that may affect us through national government, but basically with the state. So as a group, we already have a consortium or a group or a ear for our problems. And they've done very, very well over their time. They have an executive director, past executive directors that have been equally enjoyed by the houses in the state, very well known. And they do protect our cities in what they're advocating on our behalves. And it is with our input. In fact, we have a meeting coming up in October for city governments, but everybody will be there. There's very seldom is there not one of the 139 or 40 there as far as that, but we already do belong collectively and participate with them. They also provide, as a collective group, the city's insurance through the Montana Municipal Insurance Authority. And so we have our insurance with them, but they are our organization, our voice, and don't have much of a problem reaching those individuals. Individually, for us to get involved in contacting, I guess if it was a specific here to us only type of a concern that we had, there's always a legislator in the state of Montana, here in Fort Benton. We have one that's in the Senate. But we also have our state body, and you can always get a hold of them as far as that goes, whether they're necessarily going to have an immediate answer or as far as something that they can say, yes, we directively understand, maybe not, but as far as the city, we have our organization and group.
Yeah. Roger's right, they do. The Montana Leagues of Cities and Towns has been around forever. There's one on the national level as well. The National League of Cities. The county also has an organization called MACO, which I'm assuming stands for the Montana Association of Counties. Something, that do the same thing. So really what it boils down to is if you don't feel as citizens like you are being heard, go to your city council, go to your commissioners, because they are the ones doing this communication with these organizations. And that's what they're there for. That's what we put them in these positions to do. So really, they are the people that you need to go to have your concerns heard on that level. And hopefully they are doing everything in their power to be involved in these things, not just a member, but being actively involved in these things for that reason, so that we are getting everything that we want heard.
Are you
They're,
willing to take questions from the, oh, excuse me, Dean,
oh,
my bad,
I thought you were gonna-
my bad.
No, I was just gonna say they're right. I couldn't follow either one of them, so only if you don't. I'll be the middleman.
All right, shall I ask?
You're the middleman.
I'll be the middleman.
Are you guys willing to take questions from the audience?
Sure.
$5 a pop.
$5 a pop?
Yeah.
Okay, like anybody. Does anybody have a question?
Several.
They want to know, nobody owes $5. Okay, if you please stand up and then talk loud.
Well, let's talk about city issues, please. Yes. The swimming pool. I wanna know where you're at on all of that.
Yay.
You got the mic.
I got the mic. As far as I know, there was, a plan already in place for the pool? What was it, Plan B? That sounds terrible.
Plan two,
Plan two.
option two.
Option two.
There you go.
I didn't really know about the pool until a month ago, and what little I know about it is probably not much. I'd like to see it fixed. It needs to be fixed, but to what extent, that's plan two,
Number two,
number
option two.
option two, that's what they picked.
Yeah. they decided on option 2, which was approximately a $1.5 million fix, which would essentially go under the pool and fix all of the pipe situation. The plumbing. No, Diane's saying no, I'm not correct. Diane knows all the pool things. But what that all boils down to, Diane is going to plan what needs to be done, and it's our responsibility to come up with how to pay for it. And so that goes back to another question that we answered earlier. I don't think the city is in a strong fiscal state. We're gonna make this work. We're gonna make this pool situation work. But going forward, we cannot wait until something breaks to try and fix it. We just can't. These kind of things need to be planned for decades in advance. And so that's where we're coming back to the being resourceful with fundraising and having reserves. And I don't know what's going on with the budget, but if I become mayor, I will find out. And some things are gonna have to change because I know things, we can talk about it, whenever, things need to change and we have to start planning for the future. We can't just have knee-jerk reactions to all these things because we are an old, small community that's been around forever, things break. So, yeah, we're gonna have to plan for the future, not for the right now. And that's where we maybe need to do a little bit of work going forward at doing that better. So pool included.
Well, as far as and she just said that, and so did Dean. Option 2, which was a $1 to $1.3 million up to $1.5 million project, was the one chosen by the community. My own personal feeling was that we should go ahead and take the time and make the investment, whether we have to bond it or not, but to completely replace the pool that's almost 55 years old. And unfortunately, the underlying infrastructure under the pool has been causing a lot of problems. There's many other problems with the pool, not just that. But the big tag was the water loss that started, and we were tracking the water loss. And it kept getting increasingly worse. So, but to put that in effect, yes, the fundraising for that particular pool has been started. There's been monies already given towards that. As far as what we can afford, I think that is the best option at this point in time was option 2. So how we get there will remain into the hands of what funding we can get. We have grants that are being written to help offset some of those costs. Some of those grants are matching monies. So that if we get this $700,000 grant, we have to come up with locally some way to afford the other 700,000. And but I think that there's what's been discussed. I think there could be items added to that to help secure some of the stability of the pool. But we do know that the basic infrastructure there is sad. We've already said that many different times at many different community meetings and city meetings. But yeah, that's one of the main. It's not the only, believe me, the only concern in the community as far as that goes, but it is one of the most important at this time.
Anybody else have a question?
So my question to the three of you is, what steps would you take to make sure that there is a reserve fund for emergencies in the town? Water line breaks, whatever, what steps would the three of you individually take to ensure that there's a fund and get that started?
Well, basically the water and wastewater are both independent, not independent funds, but they're funds in the city. In other words, we're providing that as a service for revenue dollars. And those two do have contingency monies that are available out of those particular programs. We've had many water breaks in the last couple of years. They always happen at the most advantageous time. One of them was during the swim meet, not this year, but the year previous. Water had to be shut down and not only was there one, but there was, I think, 3 that same evening. But those two are enterprise funds. They have their own funding source. As far as the rest of the city, money can be set aside. And there used to be reserve funding for each one of the different, and I don't know the limitations there, but it used to be about 10%. That's how when we had the police department, were successfully to keep up with the rolling stock, the police vehicles and some of the equipment. And what we had there was what is called a reserve capital fund for each one of those particular items. So there is a reserve in some of these different departments that you asked about necessarily as water and sewer and what have you. And some of the areas don't, they're just line items in the budget. And that's the way that they operate out of the general fund.
Not especially, the base for these funds is set by the state. So there's a minimum amount of money that they have to have in these reserves for any of these issues, like Roger was saying. I would love to answer that question, but until I know exactly what's going on in the budget and where money can be moved and where money can be, so I don't know what they're spending money on currently or where they're getting it from. I do know it's being moved around in an unusual manner, from some of the council meetings I've watched. I just think some really good budget planning going forward will make these things easier to deal with when they do come around. I don't think that we're dealing with like really complicated things. I just think that maybe we need to just be doing them a little bit better. And then the money will be there going forward. Is it going to happen overnight? Is it going to happen in the next 4 years? No. Like this is big money we're talking about, to do these projects. But we have to start, right, making good steps to go forward. So that's how I would handle it, is by starting to put money away differently, maybe. Does that answer your question? Sort of. Okay.
So, this is probably for Roger or anyone, but, not long before the police department was shut down, they bought that drug dog and, for a pretty good chunk of change. I was just wondering, whatever happened to it, and are the taxpayers still footing the bill, or what's going on with that?
Presently, the dog is with the Shoto County Sheriff's Department. His handler is Aaron Skunkcap. And the dog has been successful in the last month with 2 takedowns of drug situations. So it's currently in the community, and the dog resides here with Aaron. He's the new handler, and it seems to be working just fine. So in essence, when we closed the police department, he transferred with Adam, but Adam is not the current handler. So the efforts that were put together for getting the dog and training and what have you, they're still in the community. And like I say, he's been successful. He's been asked to come to other communities where they had a problem, and he's been very successful He's playful, he likes his ball, and he does his work very successfully.
Was there anybody else? Yeah, I just have a comment. Chelsea mentioned that we're an old community.
I meant
No,
we've been
no.
around for a long
No,
time.
been around for a long time, but this is a plus, this is the plus, okay? Yes, 1846, okay? And look what we have become. Because of people that do like to run for office, that do get on our school boards, that do volunteer in our communities, that run businesses, that see all the potential that Fort Benton has. Look what we have become. There are many people jealous of Fort Benton and what we have. Because I work for the museum, the comments that come around, they're not just about the museum, they're the town of Fort Benton. People love our town. And so with the funds that through the years that the city has been able to work with, grants, etc., we have a beautiful town. Just this year, all of the things with the volunteer groups and everything that have been improved is amazing. So we are very fortunate to be where we're at from where we started, but it's because of people like you that keep us all going and people that want to run for office and make us a better community, a better place to be.
Well said.
That's it. And I thank the candidates.
I just clear up one thing.
Yes.
The pool, whatever happens, is not Diane's decision. Please, it's not. It's everybody's decision. The pool even.
Stay on the pool.
Hey, fun for showing up. Thank you, Abad. Thank you guys for coming.